branched listeners, if it is morning for you, it's morning for us.
Yeah, or afternoon or evening.
We usually record this podcast in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to sort of like exist more there. So this is new for us.
Mm-hmm. Also, good late night if you, I don't know.
If that's what you're into.
If that's your thing.
Yeah. Anybody who has never listened to us before, hi. This is our branched podcast. I'm Maddie.
I'm Doug.
And today we're going to be talking about tech saturation in the modern world.
Ooh, it's everywhere.
It is
We're
everywhere.
literally recording on technology right now.
Yeah, it makes this possible.
Yeah, you're listening on technology, maybe. Or you're some sort of like
Genius.
wizard.
It's like commanded a board to talk to them. And it's like our podcast.
I just imagine though like a board just opening its mouth and just our sound coming out. Like
Yes. That's exactly what it is. That's how I listen to our podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so our podcast is actually going to be about magical boards today.
Mm-hmm.
We decided just now. I decided.
Right. I mean, alchemy and wizardry are basically technology.
Yeah, all I'm saying is if I took Elon Musk back to the medieval times with the ability that I have to do such a thing, he would probably be venerated as a wizard and then burned alive, which is my 3-point plan to kill Elon Musk.
You want to kill Elon Musk?
I do now.
Okay.
We're going off the rails
we'll talk
already.
about that since
we're not even 2 minutes in.
And this segue too. We can definitely talk about Elon Musk today because now there's an interesting kind of a guy.
Mm.
And one thing that we might have to talk about a little bit is where technology and business meet, because that's where all of that innovation is.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot going on.
Yeah, he's got the Tesla. He put a car in space.
He did put a car in space.
He's trying to do a manned mission to Mars where he already said these people aren't coming back.
And that's just like the usual stuff. He's also got a company that's drilling, I'm not sure how many miles under Los Angeles to make tunnel highways. And also he sells flamethrowers.
And he smoked weed on the radio.
Yeah.
He's trying to let people forget that, but not in this Christian home, Mr. Musk.
In this Christian home. Welcome to our Christian podcast.
Today, women's rights, a myth or not?
Women's rights, why they shouldn't exist.
There's a 17% chance I'm going to edit that out.
So one thing that we wanted to talk about sort of as our jumping off point would be the bird scooters or the Lime scooters, whichever you might have in your city.
Are there other companies out there besides Bird and Lime?
I think that those are the two biggest. I will look it up really fast.
So if you're in a city, while she's looking it up, or live close to a city that you visit frequently, you probably have seen bird scooters or Lime scooters or these electric scooters literally everywhere. And if you live in the country and you never have been to a city before, you might just stop listening to this podcast right now. Tune in next episode.
Well, don't
stop
tune out yet.
Don't
We're going to talk about like technology as a whole.
Can you fast forward like 10 minutes?
Yes.
But if you have not been to a city recently or your city doesn't have them, bird scooters and Lime scooters are not scooters for birds and limes to access, but they are like a pay-as-you-go electric scooter.
They're for fish and lemons.
They are for fish and lemons only. I can't tell you how many halibut I've seen.
Right. And this is going to be a fun little bit to talk about because I have kind of a positive view on the bird scooter thing. But I think Doug, and I would say probably most people, I would say like it's like a 60-40 split, negative to positive.
I hate them.
I think they're fun. I was telling Doug, I go on bird scooter dates. I think they're great.
Okay, that's cute. There's no denying that. That's the most adorable thing I've heard all day. I mean, I haven't heard a whole lot today. It's early, but
we've never seen the sun like this before.
Yeah, no, I don't like them. They're everywhere. People slow up traffic because they're on their dumb little scooter in the middle of the road, which you're not supposed to get on the sidewalk either. And then I'm grumpy if they're on the sidewalk because I'm like, look, you're going to run me over. I'm walking.
I completely agree. That's like the hard part of it is where does technology fit in the infrastructure that we have?
Yeah.
And the infrastructure that we originally built wasn't for it. Because I agree. Like when I'm riding one, I usually try to stay on the sidewalk because it's super annoying when they're on the street and they slow down traffic. But I also don't want to run people over.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I've noticed, just to put this out there, we live in the Kansas City area. They're everywhere here. I live downtown where they are. Maddie lives just outside of the city.
Mm-hmm. So I come into the city.
You come into the city like every day, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of also a difference. But I've noticed Sundays are basically, you're either doing one of two things. Like you're either going to church or you're day drunk. Like, we're just going to call a spade here.
Right.
Sundays, I have noticed a lot more drunk scooter drivers just out there day drunk. And, full cards on the table. I have been a drunk scooter driver.
Okay.
Definitely ran it directly into a building.
I have not. Wait. Explain.
Well, okay. It's a long story, so I'll try and simplify it. My best friend in the whole wide world came over one Sunday morning with 2 bottles of champagne.
Right.
And then we poured them into large tumblers and then rode the streetcar, which is a service for those of you who aren't in the Kansas City area that goes up and down Main Street. And we just rode the streetcar drinking champagne till we were very drunk. Mm-hmm. One thing led to another. We saw bird scooters. We thought, probably a smart idea right now.
This is my next date idea.
Yeah.
This is what
getting drunk on the streetcar is choice. Mostly because, especially on the weekends, there's a lot of suburban moms with their kids there. And it's just completely inappropriate.
That's great. But, there's another interesting thing is bringing up sort of like the streetcar as well, is that it's all about different modes of transportation. Mm-hmm. And where the boot? Uh-huh. Can we edit? No. Nope. The bird scooters, where those are interesting is the demographic that they sort of hit, which I was talking to my stepmom about it. And she's like, if I touched one, I would die. So it's more for people who are in their 20s, who are younger, who are coordinated with their arms and limbs and muscles and bodies and such. And if they were to fall, they wouldn't die. So it's really kind of a funky thing that there's a specific kind of transportation for a specific kind of age group in a metropolitan area,
So on the plus side, I see people who I think they use them from my apartment building to go to work.
Yeah.
Because I see they always come back every evening and I see the scooter there and then they're gone in the morning when I go to work. And I think that they're literally just taking them to and from work. Yeah. Which is cool. I mean, it's very cheap. You pay, what is the payment for it?
It's $1 to initiate it, to start it. And then it's 15 cents per minute, I think. Mm-hmm. So I have my app pulled up here. You just kind of load a certain amount. I loaded $10 onto mine. And then have used it a couple of times, and now I still have $6.45.
So a 10-minute bird scooter ride, you're paying your initial $1, and you're paying another $1.50. And that 10 minutes on those, they get up there in speed. They do. Get to 20 something miles an hour. Yeah. You can be a couple miles away. Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty cool.
And they can hold those speeds pretty well. They're really good, especially since I go to school in the city. There's a lot of them on campus. Mm-hmm. I like to use them because I can just park on campus and then just use a bird scooter to get around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I won't deny that they are helpful. I'm just being a curmudgeon about it, honestly. I'm just these kids with their bird scooters. I want to tell you a little bit about some modern day heroes that I read about in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to give you the headline of this article. This article was from August 10th, 2018. Okay. But the headline, fed up locals are setting electric scooters on fire and burying them at sea.
Yes. So in St. Louis, they've actually, I think, banned them. Mm-hmm. It's not outlawed. You can't just outlaw it, but they have banned the scooters because people kept throwing them into rivers and, lighting them on fire and doing ridiculous things with them, which I think is a product of the demographic that it hits, right? Since it's all for essentially kids, they're going to want to push those limits and be as ridiculous as possible because there are no consequences for it.
Yeah. First, here's just a quote from a Venice Beach maintenance worker in this article who's talking about the bird scooter vandalism. Vandalism. Mm-hmm. I won't edit that out either. If I keep yours in, I'll keep mine in. Yeah. They throw them everywhere. In the ocean, in the sand, in the trash can. There's also a video. Gosh, I wish that this wasn't just an audio venue. Because this video of the bird scooter on fire is probably my favorite thing, and I need it to be a hardcore metal album cover. It's
That would be so
grand.
2019. You've got like your hardcore metal music. You've got your insane guy liner going on. You've got people drunk in a bar, and you've got a bird scooter on fire.
And the thing is, like, okay, bird scooters are annoying to me, and I can't even tell you why. Like, I can't. It's just annoys me when I see them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I understand the level of rage.
Yeah, that others seem to
that
come
it would
at them
take
with.
to take the time.
Mm-hmm.
To set a bird scooter on fire.
Right, they're not flammable.
Yeah, no, you're like having to get supplies for this.
Yeah.
And then watching it burn,
Mm-hmm.
let it go out, taking it, I assume after a cooling off period.
Yes.
And then throwing it into the nearest ocean.
Right. It does seem like a lot of work. And it also seems like it would be a lot easier if you could ride a bird scooter to the ocean.
Do you think that they have a backup?
that they carry it? They're like, oh, you know what? Actually, this is really convenient getting myself
the whole time they're just angry, like, oh, fucking hypocrite. This is just terrible.
There's like a burnt one strapped to your back.
Sell out.
And then they throw both of them in the ocean.
Or if they like just get an Uber or something, and it's kind of also hypocritical because it's just another like tech transportation thing.
Right. So I think that's what it is, though, is that we're at a place now where we're so saturated with it.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many different options for things.
Absolutely. And I love it. I actually just said yesterday to a friend of mine, I was like, we may be living in the apocalypse, but I'm pretty happy with where we are at a tech-savvy age.
Right, right.
Like, technology-wise, it's pretty great. Everything else is literally burning around us, including, apparently, the technology. Yeah. But we got a lot of good stuff going on. Like, while we're still talking about transportation, I mentioned Uber completely changed the game. Like, I can, right now, get on my phone and basically request a stranger drive their car to me and take me where I need to go in exchange for money. Like,
right. It's a dream come true.
It's a roundabout way of also saying ordering a taxi, but
yeah.
This is different and better.
It is better. And like, I was in an Uber last night, and it's cheaper, it's easier, it's safer, especially when you are like drinking. It is not safer when you are alone. And they don't do background checks on their drivers.
Do they not?
Uber doesn't. I think Lyft does.
Oh, okay. They don't at Uber? Jesus.
Yeah, Uber has some problems. I believe, and then they had like the sexual assault allegations up at the top. So don't use Uber, use Lyft. Anyway.
Yeah. There's somebody was telling me Z-Trip.
I have not heard of Z-Trip.
I hadn't either until the other day, but apparently they're really trying to like muscle their way in with Uber and Lyft.
Okay.
That's all I know about them. That's it.
They're just doing their best. Well, it opens up sort of like the floodgates for competition in a way that we haven't really had in a while. Mm-hmm. Because like I said, we're kind of changing the infrastructure of our world. And it's becoming a much more globalized place. Like, because there are bird scooters here in Kansas City in the middle of North America. And there are bird scooters in Mexico City. And there are bird scooters in everywhere else.
I wonder, okay, because, like, so much of our technology now has disrupted some sort of industry. Like, Uber and Lyft have really disrupted the taxi service.
Yeah.
Netflix and Hulu has really disrupted, like, the cable industry and the streaming industry as we know it, and movie rentals. Netflix is the reason there's no more Blockbuster is the reason there's no more Blockbuster. They just didn't adapt. But I wonder what industry, if any, Bird and Lime scooters are going to disrupt.
That's an interesting question, because a few years ago, I don't know, it was, several years ago now, but do you remember when Segways came out?
Do I? They're only my favorite thing. When I lived in DC when they got big, and they were Segway tours of DC, and I kid you not, I've been on like 10 of them. It's the same one, but I get to ride a Segway. Right.
Did you drink champagne before?
I'm not going to say that they were all sober trips for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I definitely got a little boozy and got on the Segway, which is harder than the bird scooter.
Okay.
Yeah. If memory serves. That was several years ago. But
it started with the Segway thing, where that came out as sort of a, operating in like a niche transportation area, where we're at a point now where we can funnel down that far into a specific need and be like, oh, you need to get from here to there, and that's 6 blocks away. I know how to get you there faster and like easier that isn't walking or
and
a bus.
more fun.
Yeah, and more fun.
Do you think then it's also disrupting the taxi industry and by extension Uber and Lyft?
I mean, yes, but I also think that it's operating a little bit independently of that, because I would never want to take an Uber 6 blocks.
Let me tell you about my life for a second.
Okay.
There have been times that it is real nasty outside, and I am just across like downtown. Like I can, if I looked out my window right now, if the blinds were open, I would be able to see the building that I'm talking about, that I'm coming from, and definitely have ordered an Uber
just to get there. Well, I think in that case, then Bird is the best alternative because you get there faster and you get there cheaper.
Now, okay, but
you are also outside.
Yeah. So if the weather's nice, you're probably not Ubering 6 blocks. Or if you are, like, please go just walk a little bit. Yeah. Like, go take a lap around the block or something. I'm concerned about your health.
Right.
No judgment. I just think that you maybe need to work out more. You know, we all want to live a healthy life. It's fine. It's okay.
Want to live well.
But yeah, so maybe it's not disrupting anything, or maybe we'll see, and it's disrupting some weird market that we never would have foreseen. I feel like all of the market disruptions we've seen so far have been pretty obvious. Like you could tell.
Well, because they came from breaking down giant conglomerates, like cable as a whole was huge, and then what Netflix and Hulu and all these other streaming sites, what they do is they just sort of like break it up. Like Netflix is like good for movies and independent or like original like programming.
Other Netflix originals are just
great.
Oh yeah.
And then Hulu's really good for like streaming TV and like
especially like as it comes out. You know, like.
And so you can kind of break things off of that corporate conglomerate. And when they do, those building blocks fall, and then, cable as a whole falls.
Yeah.
But
I hear it's millennials' fault.
Yes.
Actually, I think it's very interesting. So I'm guessing at our demographic here.
Yeah.
For this podcast is probably millennials.
Right.
We're the ones that seem to be interested in these topics that are, interesting, but maybe don't serve the biggest purpose.
Not yet. We're getting there. We're going to kill Elon Musk, remember?
Oh my God. So it's...
we have to edit that out.
Elon, we're coming for you. You know he's listening. Also, thanks for listening to our podcast, Elon.
Yeah, could you give us a shout out?
Could you come over? No reason.
We just want to have you for dinner.
So that was my 3-point plan to kill Elon. I wonder if I can have a 4-point plan. Like a completely different one, but it just has an extra point.
Yes.
I'll come up with it. Stay tuned, guys. Maybe that'll be like a running thing for Branch. We'll just keep killing Elon.
Keep killing him. They killed Elon.
That'll only happen if I can remember it from episode to episode, which is unlikely. But I noticed that boomers, they tend to go out of their way to be upset about market disruptions.
Yeah.
We hear things like millennials are killing cable. Millennials, I feel like we probably killed the taxi industry, and they were upset about it. Like millennials are killing the diamond industry. It's like, no, we're poor.
But at the same time, though, like, were taxis really a viable option in the way they are now? Like, when I'm even outside of the city, I can still get an Uber.
When is the last time, if ever, you've taken a taxi?
Never.
Okay. I took one. This was in 2016, so like 3 years ago, in Chicago. I was at a work conference, and I was of my peers, the youngest by like 15 years minimum. So they're with my work peers, and they want to take a taxi to get to where we need to go. Which is ridiculous.
Yep.
I don't understand. Two of them didn't even know what Uber was. So we got in a taxi, and the taxi driver gets paid by mileage.
Yeah.
So I wish I could draw the listeners a picture, but imagine a circle. The quickest way through it is straight through, which was an option. He took us around.
Right, because it's in his best interest.
And so what would have been a $10 Uber ride was a $30 taxi ride. That is why Uber and Lyft came into existence even, because taxis are ridiculous.
Right. Like it serves a real purpose. So it's not really our fault for thinking of a system that is better than the current one in place.
And it's not millennials' fault at all that these companies did what they did.
Fuck taxis.
Yeah, fuck taxis. And fuck cable. You're paying $200 to watch commercials.
Right.
Like, I feel like if I'm watching commercials, I'm not paying anything. They're paying. Like,
yeah.
Why am I paying? But I think what's interesting, anytime a market gets disrupted, especially, we're talking about technology and tech saturation, when it gets disrupted by better technology, it's always interesting to me that people want to blame something when honestly, you need to blame the market. Mm-hmm. Cable companies need to be blamed for thinking that they could stagnate in the way they do things. Mm-hmm. Taxi companies should be burned with the bird scooters. Mm-hmm. And
fuck taxis.
Fuck taxis. All of these things, the betterment of the industry, the disruption of the industry is coming from somebody who said, hey, I think we can do that better.
We're so inundated with technology now that it's sort of crazy that we even have the level of innovation that we do. Mm-hmm. But there is no stagnation in the current market, which is what is so interesting. Because while the bird scooters, I think, can be fun, for somebody who doesn't live down here, I come in and I'm like, oh, bird scooter. Like, it doesn't affect my day-to-day life. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how sustainable it is. Right. So, like, in 10 years, will there be bird scooters? Maybe they'll just use them at Burning Man. But something else will come,
Maybe actual birds. If I could pay by use to ride a bird, or not even ride a bird, but maybe if a bird could carry me with its talons.
Yes. There are birds that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just real strong small birds.
You could ride an ostrich.
Mm. Hey, you want to know how fast ostriches can run?
How fast?
The fastest one was clocked at 28 miles an hour.
That's faster than a bird scooter.
Yeah, it is.
So
that's your fun bit of trivia for today. I just had that locked and loaded.
Burn the bird scooter, get an ostrich, and fuck taxis.
Fuck taxis. But yeah, I'm about starting a social campaign to have more pay-to-ride ostriches in 2019.
I would back that Kickstarter.
2020.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If a presidential candidate could come out with that as their platform, I would vote for them.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
For our listeners who do not know, I do plan to run for president.
Probably not in 2020. Though.
Not in 2020. No, I won't be old enough. No. It'll be in 2032.
Man, they're going to look back on these podcasts and they're going to have so
much to say.
So much. Oh, God. Your opponents are going to be like, who's that Doug guy? And you're like, oh, he's dead now. Don't worry. It's fine.
It's funny because I know the way that you live.
Rude.
Doug is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Doug just has fun Sunday mornings where he gets drunk on a trolley.
I will die drunken on a bird scooter. I'm almost positive.
Oh my God. And he hates them so much.
I do, but drunk Doug and sober Doug don't hate the same things, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So to kind of jump off from there,
please.
And talking about how tech saturation is everywhere, obviously it's saturated. It sort of has built with it its own culture, which comes with subcultures and tech fads that go with each of those subcultures. Mm-hmm. So there are things like specific Reddit threads or Twitter pages or dedicated fan sites. And what's another good example of a tech fad that you want to talk about?
Well, this one doesn't necessarily have its own culture, but food ordering apps.
Okay.
That's
because it changes the culture of food.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It used to be you're hanging out with your friends at your house. You don't want to go out, or you're having a movie night or something,
right?
And you don't cook because you're in your 20s, and or you're tired, which those are the same thing.
Yes.
And you want some food. Your options used to be sketchy Chinese place or pizza.
Yeah.
And now almost any restaurant you can think of in a city environment is on Postmates or Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub. I think those are the big ones.
I think those are the big ones.
You can have yourself some sushi. You can have a steak from a steakhouse. You can anything. Mm-hmm. I know people who order fast food off of those, and I think that's ridiculous because you're paying $17. Okay, I order fast food off of it. It's me. I'm the person.
Doug, you were just telling people that they had to go take a walk around the block because they need to exercise more.
Listen, you're right.
Life is hard when you're 20-something and tired.
Sometimes I just want a cheeseburger that I have smothered in ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, ranch on cheeseburgers, choice.
I was judging silently, but...
No, it's actually real good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, it's fine. Maybe I'll edit that whole part out.
We'll just have to put that in. We'll do a food episode.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah, we should do a food episode. Okay. Hey, guys, that's how our creativity works. But yeah, so like it's completely changed how you socialize with your friends. It's completely changed how you experience food.
Right.
Actually, would it be fun if we just kind of went back and forth naming the different things that you can do now from an app?
Yes.
Okay, you go.
So date.
Oh, date. You can see your doctor.
You can cash a check.
Mm-hmm. You can order groceries.
You can order groceries. That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever going to go outside again.
No.
And then bird scooters will burn.
Yeah, bird scooters. They'll just decay out there in the sun.
That's the thing that they do.
God, you archaeologists one day are going to like get to our lair.
Mm-hmm. Our lair.
In the dirt. And
like, what the fuck is all this garbage?
You're like, what is this? What? Did they worship these things? Mm-hmm. Like, what happened around here? And then they'll log onto their Facebook, go back 2,000 years.
Yes.
Because Facebook will be around by then.
I mean,
and
the Earth won't be around in 2,000 years, but like...
Oh, I mean, it'll be there. It'll just be a lifeless rock.
Yeah, it's accurate.
Absolutely.
Oh, but here's a fun thing that you can do from an app. Talk to the President of the United States.
Twitter. Yeah, that's true. And consequently get blocked by the President of the United States. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The man who sits in the highest seat of power in one of, if not the most powerful countries on the planet, is accessible by another bird-themed app.
You know, and people listening years in the future, I hope that's a positive thing for you guys.
Yes. But for us, right now...
We wish you'd stop.
Covfefe.
Like, even ardent? No, I think that has something to do with birds. I'll just say even very fervent Trump supporters are kind of done with him using Twitter. They're kind of over it.
I think for me, what fascinates me about it is less so that it's Trump, which comes with like its own set of baggage, but more so that like the position that he holds, that the President of the United States is right there, like on Twitter. Yeah,
and what's really interesting, so he's not only like the at POTUS is available, but at Real Donald Trump or Donald J. Trump, I forget. Is available. But what's interesting is I read this article, it's a while back now, but I read this article about how his Twitter account is literally changing the political landscape of America. And I could say not for better, that's not really for me to say, but because like he's sharing what could be considered, national security secrets. He is blasting out policy ideas just off the cuff that now, like for the first year or so, and I still feel like now, but I think that they're probably getting ahead of it. They were scrambling to catch, these policymakers were scrambling to catch up with his tweets.
Yeah. No, it's still happening. I forget who just posted the correction to it, but he posted some like ridiculous number and somebody had to come back and be like, no, this is so completely fabricated that this is not accurate.
It kind of makes me wonder, like, I think we can all agree, everybody, he's not our smartest president.
Right.
But it makes me wonder, like, if this is just a genuine peek behind the curtain at the president's amount of knowledge, because he is only one man. He can't remember everything going on in our government.
Right.
But if this is the amount of knowledge that the president normally has, but we just haven't had a president dumb enough and egotistical enough to be posting his actual thoughts on Twitter. He posts on Twitter more than any millennial I know.
Right.
Also, who even uses Twitter? I use Twitter.
I use Twitter. I scroll through it fairly frequently. Twitter is an interesting thing just in and of itself, because it goes back to that whole globalization thing as well as subcultures. Like you have the information and the types of personalities and things that you curate on your own personal Twitter feed. It's like your own personal culture hub.
But I think it's crazy. And even outside of Donald Trump, Twitter has like this tech fad that everybody honestly thought was going to be just a fad.
Right.
Has changed how we interact with politicians. Like old AOC out there, she's all over Twitter.
Yeah.
I love her.
Right.
But that's, political opinions aside. It's okay, fellow listeners.
If you disagree.
Guess not fellow listeners. I'm listening right now to this. It's okay if you disagree. Don't at me. I don't care. Like, I don't. I barely care about my political opinions. I don't care about yours.
Right.
But yeah, it's changed the political landscape. It's changed how we interact with businesses. Yeah, Twitter by itself, without looking at anything else, has changed our cultural landscape.
Like 100%. And talking about how we talk to companies is an interesting thing because so much of the market right now, so much of a business strategy is its social media presence. Like Taco Bell should have died a long time ago, but it's still around because the Taco Bell Twitter page is savage as fuck.
Same thing with Wendy's.
Right.
Like also people who are out there eating Wendy's.
That's what I'm saying.
Like it's
or
not
Hardee's.
good.
Who is doing this?
Yeah. Who's supporting this? Let them die. But
millennials, kill the thing.
Kill it. But Wendy's Twitter is the most savage Twitter I've ever seen in my life.
Right. And it's that keeps people coming around. It keeps you in the mind of the public. And it's using like one like very specific facet of the technology we have at current to do so, you know? And it's sort of crazy talking about like taking apart a larger conglomerate and breaking it down into something that works a little bit better, like with how we were talking about cable and then Netflix and Hulu and streaming sites and all of these things. But Twitter and Instagram and YouTube kind of do that to like Facebook, because I don't think Wendy's, their social media presence doesn't exist on Facebook the way that it does on Twitter.
No, which is crazy because
each one has like its vibe to it, you know?
But I will be honest, I don't see Wendy's tweets on Twitter. I see screenshots of it on Facebook.
Okay.
Which is very interesting to me, how these two culturally are interacting.
Yeah.
You know, like I see honestly, I'm on Facebook a lot.
Yeah.
Me and the boomers. And
hanging out. Hating bird scooters.
Hating bird scooters. That's all we talk about. But I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, I'll see Twitter content almost exclusively on Facebook.
Okay.
So that's just another interesting kind of twist in like the tech saturation. Like I'm seeing something from one tech source on another tech source.
Right. And it's because of the way that you like communicate on each. Like a screenshot of a funny tweet on Facebook sort of reads differently than the tweet itself on Twitter, if that makes any sense. Because I don't use Facebook really at all. And so if I'm seeing like Wendy's tweets and stuff, I'm seeing them on Twitter. And from the source in a bit of a different context with like that kind of an environment, which is different from how you would read it if you're on Facebook in that kind of an environment.
Well, and I think it's, so Twitter and Reddit both that's kind of like you're getting the content from the source.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, obviously news articles, things like that are on their respective websites. But Facebook and kind of Tumblr, though I don't know if anybody's using Tumblr anymore.
No, not since they took all the porn off of it.
That's basically, I didn't realize how many people use Tumblr almost exclusively for porn.
I did.
A lot of people I know.
I think we talked about that a little bit before.
Yeah, it's either on an episode you listeners have already heard or will hear. But shoot. Oh yeah. So Facebook basically curates everything from these sources.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a curated view of these things that if you're on Twitter or Reddit, you can see right away if you're looking at the right stuff.
Yeah.
Where Facebook, it's just a narrowed scope of the things that you're generally already seeing.
It's filtered. You're absolutely right. Which is why I think Facebook runs into the problems that it is. Because everything that you see on Facebook is like filtered through something, you know, some person's opinion or like 30 layers out of context for a tweet or something like that. Whereas when you get on the other, like more direct social medias, like there's still definitely problems there, but some of that filter kind of goes away.
Well, and you kind of have to wade through more on Twitter and Reddit. Whereas somebody has already waded through it, clipped out the parts that they think is like funny or interesting or remarkable in some way. Yeah. And then you see it on Facebook, for better or worse. And then there's Instagram, which is still just pictures that, I mean, people generally aren't interested in, and they just hit heart react and go on their way.
Just so that we can, like, have, like, just a moment of ranting, since you got to talk about Bird. Like, I fucking hate Instagram.
Okay.
I use it, and I like to post pictures of myself. Like, if you were to find my Instagram and look at it, you would be like, yeah, this girl, like, really loves herself. But I use it, like, with months in between. Like, I post a photo like once every 6 months. Like when the seasons change, I post a photo, And that's cool and everything, but I don't get on Instagram and look at it for like any kind of fun content.
No.
Like that's why I don't use it. Like,
I mean, I don't think anybody else really cares about other people's content on there.
Exactly. Like it's sort of just for yourself. Like I like to post for me, but I go on like an explore page on Instagram and it's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It's like, look at these hot glue crafts and glitter and
or
slime.
Like you get the Instagram influencers, and let me tell you, I hate no one's post more than Instagram influencers.
Yeah,
because it's just like a selfie with a coffee. Like, oh my god, chilly day, love coffee. Like we all love coffee.
Yes, we. Like, what are you fucking saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what it is. Like, there just is literally no point to it. And yet you're right, that reach on Instagram with Instagram influencers, which I guess for myself I'm sort of like shielded from it because I never get on the site and I'm not actually following anybody except for Cara Delevingne because she's fucking gorgeous. Just so everybody's clear. But they have so much pull. You know, one thing that we could talk about with that, specifically with Instagram, is the Fire Festival. Did you watch that documentary?
I haven't yet. I need to. It's on my list. Though I've heard that the Hulu documentary is better than the Netflix documentary.
Okay, I watched the Netflix documentary and I really like it. I've only just started the Hulu one, so I'm not sure if it is better.
Yeah, I need to watch it though, so I'll understand the memes more.
Yes,
that's
but it's great. And that's social media started the Fire Festival. And one thing that they really touch on in the documentary is social media brought down the Fire Festival.
Interesting.
Because somebody posted, it started on Instagram. They had a bunch of Instagram influencers and models who have crazy reach on their photos who posted about it and made it seem really cool. And then one guy at the actual festival, amongst the shit show, posted one photo of like bread and cheese and that destroyed the whole thing.
Interesting.
So it's interesting for like a bunch of different reasons. That Instagram is like where we go to look for like a glorified, fun, fancy, bougie lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
And then Twitter is where we go to be like cynical and
to be disenfranchised.
Yeah, to be disenfranchised and everything. And it was those two competing things that.
Yeah.
But you have to also have both. I mean, Fire Festival had a Twitter page, you know.
Just want to interrupt us with saying I forgot my roommate was here. And he coughed and it scared me.
Who is that?
There's a man in there.
Elon Musk. What are you doing?
Come here. It's safe.
How did you get out of those shackles?
Elon, how'd you get out of the basement? You silly boy. If Elon Musk goes missing, I just want to say I've never seen him. Also, that just sounds more incriminating, honestly. Right,
it does.
Also, it just crossed my mind. People will probably be listening to this in, I'm assuming like this summer. So when we're talking about haven't seen the Fire Festival documentary yet, it's February. So yeah, I mean, social media, honestly, it's also like a pretty big, we kind of touched on it, but it's a huge marketing tool because that's where everybody is. Right. And I actually, one of my jobs is I run social media management for small businesses. It's just huge. And I actually I have charts and graphs that show like the most engagement times nationwide. Well, by the way, you guys are all on social media during work. It's Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 that are like the biggest times. So you're seen. I see you. But it's huge. Like, it's huge, and people want to be marketed to in a certain way. Like, they don't want to feel like there's an advertisement. They want to feel like they're looking at someone's personal social media, but it's a business. Yeah. Which I think is also very interesting. It's changed the way that we do marketing, like hella a lot.
It's like we want things to be like maybe more genuine or more friendly.
We feel like we're friends with the company, that we're part of their family.
Which I think is probably why like Wendy's and even like other fast food. Why is fast food so good at this? But anyway,
I don't know. They have to be. There's got to be something keeping them going.
There's just one dude in a basement. He's got like 6 computers up, and he's just roasting the world. And we're like, yeah!
He's just like roasting each other though. Like he is all of them.
Yes. Where it starts to feel like, oh man, like Wendy's is so funny. Wendy's, my friend, is so funny. You know.
So this is an abrupt change, but is it time?
Yeah.
Is it time that we can talk about?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been excited about this, dear listeners. Talk about this part about tech saturation because it's my obsession, and that is smart home technology.
Yes.
I assume most of our listeners are aware of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Disney Channel original movie Smart House, starring the unflappable Kate Siegel as the house.
Oh, man,
God, that sounds so fake. Like, that sounds like I just made that shit up. But it is a real movie.
It is. It's great.
It was great, yeah.
Okay.
And that kid was in another Disney Channel movie where he turned into a leprechaun.
Maybe we should do a whole episode about Disney Channel.
Oh my God, can we?
Because we could really get into some weeds with that.
Oh my God, there is... yes, I'm going to slow down because I have so many things that I want to talk about. So yeah, we can talk about Disney Channel at some point. Or I might not, I don't know. Only God knows. And she's not telling us. So, yeah, smart home technology. I'm just going to do a quick overview for the people that literally live under a rock. It is usually Wi-Fi based integration of different things. You know, your lights, your coffee maker, your thermostat, your locks on your door. All of that integrated into one central hub that you can control either through apps or me personally, I use Google Home and I'm about it. I feel like Google is going to soon be our robo overlords, but I'm okay with it. I welcome it. It'll be so organized.
So great.
And Google has basically saturated every inch of my life. I use Google Drive for all my documents.
So do I.
Google Calendar for all my appointments.
Right.
I have a Google Home that controls my lights in my living room, which, by the way, they're color change lights. It's so much fun.
He was showing me them.
Yeah, I can ask Google to change the color of the lights, and it knows like the whole 64-pack of Crayola. Like, it'll do it all. It doesn't have a sharpener in the back, though.
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty important. But... yeah, smart home technology is amazing. It is amazing advancement. And I feel like this whole podcast, we've been trying to keep a pretty neutral tone on whether or not, you know, if you're pro or against tech saturation.
Right.
Throwing it out the window. So I'm so excited.
Doug is marrying his Google Home.
Oh my God, if I could. He's pretty great. His name is Carl.
Oh my God.
And then I have a Google Home Mini in my bedroom that is Carl Jr. And then when I get my third one, it will be Carl the Third, which raises some interesting questions. Like, is this a babies having babies thing? Like, did my Google Home Mini have another Google Home Mini? So I'm not sure if that's appropriate or acceptable.
But I'm just saying that there's nothing to suggest that Google can't like butt off in sort of like an asexual reproductive cycle.
I feel like it is probably more asexual. Like it's probably self-contained.
Which is why a Carl to Carl to Carl would make a lot of sense because they would be.
Where's the mom?
Right. They would be very, like, genetically similar.
Unless...
because Google has genetics.
What if, and hear me out, there is a mother, and the mother is Alexa.
Oh, my God. Oh, that would actually be such a great social media campaign, is the backdoor affair between Google Home and Alexa.
They'll talk to each other if you have them in the same room.
Right? Because they're fucking.
Yeah.
And they're making babies.
And they're digitally doing it.
Right? You know what happened? All of their porn got onto Tumblr, and that's why it's not there anymore.
They had to take it down. Oh, my God. Yeah. And then, like, the Apple HomePod is just watching through the window.
The Apple HomePod. Will you guys let me in now?
I'm proud of you.
Okay, so home integration of technology is like taking saturation to kind of like its final form. So tell me, like, what are the pros of it? Because you sort of are coming at it from like a no cons, this is great. So what does it do?
Okay, so basically it simplifies your home life. There's, at this point, I mean, there could be more and there will be more, but there's not any part of your home really that I can think of that cannot be equipped with smart home technology. So like you have your smart bulbs, which you can turn on or off with the app or with your smart home device like Google or Alexa.
Yeah.
For the purposes of the rest of this episode, so I don't have to keep saying Google or Alexa. I'm going to just talk about my Google Home.
Okay. Please pay us.
Google, I know you got money.
Why do we give free advertising to these people?
Right? Alexa, you can pay us too. It's fine. I guess Amazon. Or
just
Alexa, do you have your own money?
You should just refer to your Google Home as Carl, so that way we're not directly advertising for them.
Okay. So I can connect Carl to my lights. There are smart plugs that are Wi-Fi enabled, so that whatever you plug into, you can either control on your app or with Carl. There are my next purchase that I'm so excited. Oh, the sun just came out. It got way bright in here.
Google, did you do that?
Hey, Google, turn on the sun. But I was checking to see if you heard me. But my next purchase that I'm excited about is a Wi-Fi enabled coffee pot.
Okay.
And here's why I'm excited. One, it's got a grinder in it, so that's always nice. But two, Google and Alexa both have like and maybe the Apple HomePod. Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a shit.
Like Apple people, we get it. We get it already. Just I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
I have an iPhone.
I can't give up my emoji keyboard.
But it has a good morning function.
Yeah.
So I can be in bed with my Carl Jr. right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, hey, Google, good morning. And it will do a various amount of things that I have programmed it to do. It'll turn on any lights that I program it to. It can start my Wi-Fi enabled coffee pot.
Right.
And then it will tell me the weather and then the news programs that I programmed it to, which are NPR and BBC.
That's great.
Yeah. And that's one of the functions. It also has a good night function where it'll turn off the lights. If you have a Nest thermostat, it'll set it to, or any Wi-Fi enabled thermostat, it'll set it to whatever you want. It has a I'm home function, which will turn on the lights, tell you the news. Going away function, where if you have a smart lock, it'll make sure your door's locked behind you. Just so much stuff. Like it is literally the hub of convenience for your at-home life. I feel like there probably are some cons.
Yeah.
In that it, listens to literally everything you say.
Right.
I have installed wiretaps into my home. But I'm okay with that.
Yeah, there's but it has to, like, in order for it to work the way that we want it to, at the current moment, it has to do that,
Yeah.
And I feel like most people are pretty okay with it.
Yeah, well, and there are people out there who have like tried different things, like just saying like the word lawn chair over and over and over again, just near their smart home device.
Yeah.
Until it has showed up in their like social media ads.
Yeah.
But it already, like, Facebook already listens to you. We know that, which is another, I guess, a really interesting thing when we're talking about tech saturation. Like the level of okay we are as a society of our technology listening in on us and impacting our lives based on what it's hearing.
Right. And it's at a level of saturation where we actually aren't even conscious of it, And
people always like to bring up George Orwell in these conversations. And I get it. And maybe I'm being a little naive, but I don't care. I don't think it's Orwellian. I think that right now, it's used to make our shopping experience better.
Yeah.
If I say, man, I'm looking for a really good waffle iron, I'm expecting now, probably in about 20 minutes, to be on Facebook and see a waffle iron, which, yeah, it's a slippery slope, but I don't think we're sliding down it.
Fair. But we are in the apocalypse.
We are definitely in the apocalypse.
So we're already there. It doesn't matter.
I think Facebook listening to us is the least of our worries right now.
Fair. Fair enough.
But also, don't add us. I don't care. Actually, you know what? Add us at Branch Podcast. Have a discussion about it. Like, I would love to hear what you guys think about that topic, because it's a pretty hot one, I think. Yeah,
I agree. Sort of talking about like selling data, incurring data on what we do and everything to personalize the experience that we have with technology, which is kind of a crazy, crazy thing. Because like we were talking about, it has its own culture collectively, but individually, it's so tailored to us personally that's why it's so easy to get into these holes of confirmation bias on Facebook or even on Twitter, because you're surrounded by things that like make you go, yeah, agree, exactly that.
And like, I guess also speaking of confirmation bias, how easy it is to have misinformation online these days. Yeah. Because like you can already edit pictures to look like anything you want. Now there's the ability to edit videos to like have people, it look like people are in videos saying things that they're not saying. Yeah. That's kind of a downside of tech saturation, I guess, is that we are saturated with the ability to be misinformed.
Yes. It's the information age, but there's no telling what that information is or really like where it is coming from and what its agenda is, at least at a face value, Right. Because that is kind of the negative is that it's all to get clicks. So we have weird, misleading headlines. We have this, we have that, but we move so quickly these days that we're not taking the time to sort of go through it.
What I think is really interesting too is like you hit on like we move things so quickly is like I think it's really impacted how much we care about things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many, probably daily, probably every day, at least once a day, there are shocking headlines in my timeline and in my newsfeed. Mm-hmm. And I see it and I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. And then I scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's really decreased the permanence of effects of news stories on us. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's a generational thing because I don't think that that's necessarily true of people older than us still.
Maybe because they just inherently move slower, so they're more likely to... Because I feel like that's a saturation problem. Because we see so many horrible things happen all the time. You get desensitized.
Yeah, we're so saturated in technology and in media technology too that we can't hold on to everything. Whereas maybe older people are less saturated, so they're seeing less things. So the things that they do see, which is also why they are so prone to misinformation.
Right.
Because I don't know, we see clickbait stories, fake news stories, hashtag fake news,
all the time.
All the time. And maybe they do too, but they're less aware of it because they see less stories.
Right. They're less. Yeah. I mean, almost anything that I see on the internet nowadays, I'm going to call bullshit to, like, until proven otherwise, you know? And you have to be so careful of different things. Even reading, like, real, like, scientific papers that have been studied, who funded it, you know? And what was that agenda?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot less questions asked.
Yeah.
I feel like. Thank God for Snopes, by the way. Snopes.com, send us money. Because I feel like they're still like the reliable fact checker out there. Though I don't know the last time I've been on their website, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Me neither.
Usually someone else posts a Snopes link. And they're like, you're dumb. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's sort of a crazy balance, right? Because where we started, right, with the bird scooters and how just like that like little thing becomes so saturated so quickly, and it allows for these like niche companies to exist and make money and be cool and like really convenient and good for us. There is that other half of the story where it's like, okay, now our technology is also going to listen to us and confirmation bias and this and that.
Yeah. You know, and if I could just boost our podcast while we're on it, this is the thing I love about this podcast is, oh my God, this sounds like we are NPR in a sponsorship time. But like, honestly, what I love about this podcast is these are conversations that are so interesting to have because we have been able to connect bird scooters to fake news stories and they all run in the same sphere.
They're all connected to each other. Like that's the infrastructure that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Is that now everything is connected.
Yeah. This is fun. This is a fun podcast. I enjoy making it.
For anybody who has listened to this podcast and has not understood what we are doing, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. We are talking about everyday things that, you know, affect our everyday life and how they interconnect. Right.
The broader context for it, the branches of it.
And honestly, there's whole things that either we didn't have time to talk about in this podcast episode or that, you know, we are saving for another podcast episode that interconnect with this as well. You know, we didn't even talk about like Tinder.
Right. But we could very easily talk about Tinder in this episode. We're going to have a dedicated Tinder episode.
Yeah.
But that also connects to our LGBT episode that we just did.
Absolutely.
Where all of these things play a role into each other. And when we talk about food, that also counts. Like everything exists connected to one another because all things are coming from the same fabric, from the same time and space kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's really crazy. Like, honestly, going into this podcast, like when we started making it, I don't think I was even ready to realize like how much things interconnected.
Yeah.
So we're patting ourselves on the back a lot here, but we earned it.
We did it. Well, it's a really, really hard concept to explain, which is why I'm really glad that you wanted to do this podcast with me, because this is the way that I think about things. And this was like my idea, but it's really, really hard to like articulate that.
Well, I'm just stoned every episode. That's
so he's
that's
ready.
Probably not completely true all the time.
3/4 stone.
It would be a passing grade. No, I'm kidding. I have not been high once recording this episode.
Okay.
No. Or any episode. Or any episode. God damn it. I promise.
We'll do a weed episode, okay?
It's nice to be breaking down subjects instead of just breaking down, emotionally.
Right. Yes.
It's nice to take a break from that.
Because we're 20-something and tired.
So I feel like that's about all we have.
I think so. I was kind of hoping that I could somehow incorporate put squishy bits in your mouth, but it didn't work this time.
But you can.
Put them in there.
Put squishy bits in your mouth.
Any
squishy bits. Thanks for listening to Branch Podcast. Elon Musk, I'm coming for you. All right. You guys have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Bye.